How's it going, everybody? Batting sixth here, back again with another video. Thank you guys so much for all the support on the last video and to all the new subscribers. And if you love talking about the Toronto Blue Jays, if you love commenting or whatever about the Toronto Blue Jays, make sure to like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 300 subscribers on this channel. I think we're at like 275 or 276 or something like that. So please subscribe if you love the Blue Jays. I do want to clarify a couple things before we get into this. I'm not saying I have any sources or anything like that talking about trade. I'm just talking about a little piece of the Ben Nicholson-Smith article. And we looked at this in the last video, and I found it interesting. I think you guys did too, to see that this ending part at the end here, talking about how the Blue Jays are still in contact with Bichette, Tucker, and Bregman and their representatives. And the Okamoto deal doesn't necessarily preclude further additions, but the Blue Jays liked their position player core even before adding the 29-year-old Okamoto, so any further additions might have to be paired with a corresponding subtraction via trade. So basically, if the Blue Jays are considering bringing in another position player, if they're considering bringing in another person to fill out that outfield or even the infield, there could be a chance that they need to trade off somebody from their roster, which I mean is a strong possibility. They've added a lot already, and again, you bring in a Tucker or you bring in a Bichette or even a Bregman, you're probably gonna have to at least consider moving off of somebody from your roster. You gotta do right by your team, but also the player, because if that player is not gonna get every day at bats or might not even get nearly as many at bats as they did last year, you're wasting an asset, but you're also wasting the player. So you kind of have to do right for your team and by the player. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about some guys that could potentially be sent off, whether it's for money reasons or whether it's because of, adding another player to this team and it just being overcrowded. So we're going to get into this, and you guys let me know if you think any of these guys will or should be traded. Again, I'm not saying I want these guys to be traded, because there are guys that go into this comment section and before even watching this video, they go, oh, you know nothing, you're talking out of your ass, they're not getting traded. I don't want anybody to get traded. I want this team to be as good as possible, and if that means keeping everybody, that's totally fine. But if we're talking about money, I think a lot of people would be looking at Jose Berrios, and he's been a really good pitcher throughout his career, but he's kind of hit a bit of a wall in the last season, and you can see he's getting paid quite a lot of money. He'll be in the payroll annually, he's probably getting paid around $19 million. But again, anything that is going to save the Blue Jays money, it doesn't matter what his payment is going to be. Regardless, it's going to save the Jays some money if they can make a move. But I do want to show people that 4.18 ERA is not the worst. And before this past season, he had never been injured, and he still pitched 166 innings. And then before that, you can see the previous two seasons, he was under a 4 ERA and pitching basically 190 innings plus in both years. So while Berrios is still probably a guy that's going to be on this team in terms of depth, the Blue Jays could consider trading him, especially if they're going to bring in more money. If you're going to acquire a Kyle Tucker in free agency or a Bo Bichette, the Blue Jays could eat some of that money for Berrios and send him off in a trade and even just get some of that money back. In terms of the fact that you're trading him, you're still going to eat some of the contract, but you are saving some of that money, of course, because you're not eating his entire contract. That would be ridiculous. So Berrios, if we're talking pitching, is probably a guy that the Blue Jays have considered trading. This one's kind of in the same ballpark. I didn't include Clement or Barger in this. I just can't see either one of those guys being moved. I know people are saying that they should. Now, I'm not saying people are saying they should. Only if the Blue Jays were somehow to get Bichette and Tucker, then you're probably trading one of those guys, if not both. And I know people think I'm crazy. Excuse me. But you can't keep everybody, right? So if you were miraculously to get both Bichette and Tucker, even after this Okamoto signing, you're probably going to end up trading at least one of those guys. But I kind of hold this guy in the same realm of possibility, and that's Anthony Santander. The reason why I hold him to the same accord is because, first of all, he's making a lot of money. Okay, like this guy's going to be making a lot of money going into the following seasons as well. There's a player opt-out, and if he continues to struggle, I don't think in a couple years he's going to be opting out of that contract. But the reason why I kind of think this doesn't make a lot of sense is because I want to say that this season is an outlier, and the reason why is because he did get injured. He did have a lot of trouble this season. And if you look at the previous 3 seasons before that, the average wasn't fantastic, but 44 home runs, 28 home runs, 33 home runs. This guy knows how to hit for power. He knows how to hit home runs. I think if the Blue Jays were really going all in and were able to land Tucker and Bo, or, maybe it's just Tucker and Santander becomes more of a guy that they consider to move on from, It just doesn't seem like the Blue Jays are in a position to move him. Teams probably don't want to acquire him right now. But if Santander hits 25 home runs, like I know people are like, oh, if he hits 20, that's fine. No, I want this guy to still hit 25 plus home runs. And if he does that, this team becomes even more dangerous, because I think people are already saying, Santander is pretty much done. Like, the guy's kind of lost it a little bit. I'm not one of those people. I think Santander is going to come back this year and be a lot better. And if that, like I said, if that's the case and he hits 25 plus home runs, and let's just say the Blue Jays do add a Bo or Santander, a Bo or a Tucker on top of that, dude, this team is going to be unbelievable. And they were already so good. But Santander is a key factor this year for the Blue Jays and whether or not they're successful, because he could be a game changer. This guy is supposed to hit a bunch of guys home. He really is. That's been his job for other teams previously, or to the Baltimore Orioles previously. So let's see if he can do that in Toronto this upcoming season. But moving on to some guys that could be moved on from as well. Joey Loperfido, I would hate to see this guy go, because I quite like him. I think his swing is really nice. But again, this is a guy that could be a guy that gets, sent away for depth, and this would be doing right by the player. And what I mean by depth is like pitching depth. I would wonder if they would look for another bullpen arm. If you have a Loperfido, you go for another guy that has like a bullpen, or another team that has like a bullpen arm that's kind of on the same level price wise as Loperfido, because again, I'm going to keep referring to it. If you've already brought in Okamoto, you're potentially bringing in Tucker, you're potentially bringing in Bo, any of those guys. Plus, Barger's going to need more at bats next year. You're definitely letting Barger and Clement hit a lot more next year. Miles Straw is already a guy that they use in the outfield whenever Varsho's not there, based off of defense. And his bat actually wasn't that bad last year. So Loperfido is kind of a guy that gets brought in if all of those guys are doing different things, or if there's injuries and stuff. And I still believe Loperfido could stay on this team and be exceptional depth. But if you do add another outfielder in Tucker, now you're pushing him even further back. And again, it might be a wasted asset to not attach this guy to a trade to potentially get another relief pitcher. So again, people are probably going to comment this, even though I'm going to say it 50 times. I actually really don't want pretty much any of these guys to get traded, just based off the fact that, of course, I'm a Jays fan. I'm biased. But again, it's a business, right? So any of these guys could get moved. And it would suck if this guy did, for sure. Davis Schneider. And again, he's kind of in the same boat as Loperfido, although Schneider gets a lot more at bats. And this is why, again, he's a guy that I'm not really sure if the Blue Jays are going to move on from, because he's a lefty masher. And if you look at his numbers, he's actually improved from the previous season. In significantly less games, he put up almost the same amount of home runs, and he was not too far away from his RBI total from 2024. The batting average was definitely better, and obviously we were looking for those 2023 numbers, and he was on his way to doing that. I like Davis Schneider. Like I said, lefty masher, and this is the reason why he might stay in this lineup. But when you're adding more and more players, like I've said for these other guys, sometimes a Davis Schneider becomes expendable, just based off the fact that there's just a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys, and that includes Nathan Lucas as well. I know the Blue Jays love this guy, the way they played him, and he was a breakout player for us this season. 135 games, 255 batting average, 12 home runs, 65 RBIs. It would suck to see this guy go, but like I said, and you guys are probably so tired of me repeating this, but let me just say it again. You've brought in Okamoto, which means that he's probably playing third base. I can't see how this guy's going to get moved to the outfield. He'll probably platoon and play off of what Barger plays or whatever. But if he's playing third, Barger more than likely gets moved to the outfield, which means now you've got Santander in the outfield. You've got Lucas in the outfield. You've got Barger in the outfield. You've got Varsho. You've got Springer. You've got... The list goes on, and it starts to push guys around, and it starts to push them further back. I think Lucas is more towards the front of the pile. That's why he's probably less likely to get dealt than maybe a Loperfido and maybe even a Davis Schneider. Again, also Lucas being a left-handed bat, the Blue Jays are trying to get a little bit more left-handed, I would think. But again, these guys just they know how to hit left and right side. We saw it in the playoffs. These guys are hitting pitchers that throw from the left and right. It's going to be one of these off seasons where we're going to have to see what continues to happen, because I think the Blue Jays, if they were to stand pat right now, they probably are more than likely not going to trade off any of these guys, but another addition of Bo or a Bregman, which I don't think Bregman's coming here, or Tucker. You get any of those guys, it starts to push guys even further, and while that's fantastic depth, for money reasons and also the fact that you can upgrade in other areas, more specifically the bullpen, some of these guys might become expendable. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I'm not saying I want these guys to get traded or that they will get traded, but there's a higher and more likely chance that these depth guys are guys that will get moved on from, rather than, everyday position players. Even though, guys like Nathan Lucas has played damn near every day for this team at points. Same thing with Davis Schneider. Anthony Santander is an everyday player when he's healthy for the most part. Same thing with Jose Berrios when, he's pitching every fifth day when he's healthy. There's a lot of really good here, and Joey Loperfido is a guy that's shown flashes of being a guy that can play every day. So we'll see what happens. Again, I'm just excited for the season. Let me know what you guys think down below. Could any of these guys get dealt? And if you are new here, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching Batting Sixth. I'm Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video.